How can this summit be different for President Trump? Here now is the director of the Margaret Thatcher Center for Freedom at the Heritage Foundation, Nile Gardiner. Nile, thanks so much for coming on this morning.
It's my pleasure. Great to be here.
Oh, thank you. And how should this president handle this meeting? How can he do it better?
Well, I think quite simply, President Trump must approach his meeting with Vladimir Putin from a position of strength and resolve, and this is vitally important. I think that with Barack Obama and his overall approach towards the Russians, it was very weak-kneed, it was confusing. Hillary Clinton, of course, had this disastrous Russian reset, and basically the Russians trampled all over the Obama administration. In contrast, the Trump administration has been actually very, very tough on the Russians. So if you look at the wave of sanctions introduced by the Trump administration, the decision to sell defensive weapons to Ukraine, the decision to beef up America's military presence in Eastern Europe, for example, and so on a whole host of fronts, the Trump administration actually has done very well in the face of Russian aggression, and that also includes on the Syrian front as well, where the United States has been combating Russian influence in Syria, and also, of course, warding off Iranian influence as well. And so on so many fronts, I think this administration has implemented exactly the right policy towards Russia. All President Trump has to do in Helsinki is actually advance and reinforce the policy positions of his own administration, and then I think he'll do very well.
Now, both parties are obviously going to want to get something out of this summit. What do you think Vladimir Putin is going to want to get out of this?
Yeah, I think that Putin will want to see a number of things. Firstly, he wants to be treated as some kind of equal to the U.S. president, when clearly he's not. There's only one leader of the free world, and that is the president of the United States. But Putin wants to see himself on an equal level playing field, of course, with the U.S. president. So there's a lot of propaganda value, I think, for Putin in terms of this summit. I think, secondly, Putin will want to see some concessions from the United States, and this is a very, very dangerous arena for President Trump. It's vital that he does not make any concessions. The concessions I think that Putin will want to see will be primarily with regard to the Ukraine and Crimea issues. Putin will want to see U.S. recognition of Russia's occupation of Crimea. Putin will want to see a weakening of U.S. sanctions against the Russians. He will want to see a reduction of U.S. and NATO military exercises in Europe. In return, he may make, in my view, a completely empty promise to be more cooperative in Syria, for example, to help to rein in Iranian ambitions in Syria. And so it's vitally important that President Trump not fall into any of these traps. President Trump must make it 100% clear that the Russians should get out of Crimea, that they should withdraw all of their forces from eastern Ukraine, that there will be no weakening or softening of U.S. sanctions against the Russians. Mm-hmm. He must also make it clear that the United States will stand up to any Russian aggression inside Syria as well. So a message of real resolve and strength is absolutely vital. But Vladimir Putin has dealt with 4 U.S. presidents in the past. He's a vastly experienced international operator. He's a former KGB agent. And he will try to, at every opportunity, wrangle some kind of concession from the U.S. president. It's absolutely vital that President Trump stands firm.
He's sharp and he's very tricky, too. Nile, thank you so much for coming on this morning, and we will be right back.
My pleasure.